lovers of truth and literature, I am sure that all of you are lovers of truth, and this association is trying to bring the content of truth into our educational system. And literature is not different from the motto of this organization. After listening to Professor Ramaswamy and great Vidwan Shatavadhani Ganesh, I cannot or I dare not deliver a lecture. Once upon a time when I was a student, I was a good student, I was a good speaker and a good debater. I used to earn medals and prizes in debates. After I became a serious literary writer, I consciously stopped that ability of mine because I realized that a good speaker cannot be a good writer.
You are bombing.
Now I only tell you the background and the provocation of writing this novel Avarana. I am basically a student of literature, basically a student of philosophy. Therefore, temperamentally, I am always in search of truth. Even though I shifted my interest from the study of academic philosophy to literature, my basic purpose of my intellectual activity did not change. That is the search of truth. For the first time when I went to Banaras, I had a very glorious picture of the temple of Vishwanath, because Banaras is our holiest city and Vishwanath Mandir is our most important mandir. When I went there, I was shocked to see the small Vishwanath temple is as small as a cow shed, just a cow shed. And by the side of Vishwanath temple, there is a very imposing masjid, and there was a Nandi which was facing the temple of the masjid, the mosque. Then I could not understand it. Then I asked a Panda, what is this? And he narrated to me the whole truth. And that provoked me to read about the historical events about the Vishwanath temple. That was one experience, a very shocking experience. And then in 1968 or 69, I was a reader in philosophy philosophy of education in NCERT, National Council of Educational Research and Training. Then Srimati Indira Gandhi, who was the Prime Minister, appointed a committee under the chairmanship of Sri G. Parthasarathi. Parthasarathi was an Indian ambassador to UNO, not the other Parthasarathi who these days appears on the television. He is also G. Parthasarathi, but he is not that person. He was the senior Parthasarathi. Now, under his chairmanship, a committee was formed with 5 committee members, and I was one of them. Parthasarathi called a meeting, and in the first meeting he said, it is our duty to clean the dirt in all our textbooks. Therefore, this committee is formed. And then I asked him, sir, what are the dirts? And he said, see, in our history books, there are various passages which says that king destroyed this temple, that Bhatta destroyed other temples, and so on and so forth. And we are now living in a new country, a country in which we have to make free from all mutual hatred and disharmony. Therefore, we must remove all those things. And then I asked him, sir, will you please give me some examples, concrete examples? He said, you see, you take any history textbooks in high school, in any Indian language, and there you find Aurangzeb destroyed Vishwanath temple. Therefore, all these things should be removed. I just asked him, sir, is it a fact or not? Then he said, whether it is fact or not is not important, but what impact it will have on our young minds, that is important. Then I said, sir, what is the purpose of teaching history? He said, purpose of teaching history is to bring harmony in society. I said, in order to bring harmony, there are other subjects, social studies for example, but the purpose of history is to tell the truth about our past, and truth and nothing but truth. And I just continued arguing, and then he tried to convince me, but he could not. By then the lunch break, lunch time has come, and the lunch people came with the lunch box. And then when we dispersed, Parthasarathi came to me, and then he put his hand on my shoulder, took me to a corner, and then said, you see, Mr. Bhyrappa, you are from Karnataka, I am from Tamil Nadu, we are neighbors. So, diplomats always speak like this. And then he said, what you say is correct, but those who rule the country should take various other factors into considerations. Therefore, we must be adjustable. So I kept quiet then. After lunch, when we met again, Parthasarathi said, we will go to the next step of the discussion. I said, sir, till the first step is cleared, we can't go to the next step. So he became a bit annoyed, and then he showed it in his face. And then I went on arguing. Within half an hour he said, we will meet tomorrow. dismissed the meeting. And tomorrow when the five of us gathered, there was a message from him saying, the meeting is postponed. He didn't come. And after 15 days, there was a circular which said the committee was restructured, dropping Bhyrappa. And a new person was placed there. He was a committed Marxist, a student of history, and he was there. And later I watched the whole thing, that he was responsible, or he was given the responsibility of changing cleansing the history books throughout the country, in all the Indian languages. Not only that, not only in history, but in sociology, even in literature also, language textbooks also, he completely cleansed it. At that time, most of the states were ruled by the Congress, and then they readily followed and adopted the textbooks prepared by the NCERT. And some states which were not ruled by Congress party also adopted, because at that time there was fear among the non-Congress ruled states, because Supreme Court had not given any judgment about the Bommai case, that the central government could dismiss any state government. No, Supreme Court judgment had not come at that time. Anyway, I simply followed that. That was another experience. One other experience which happened was in the mid-1917, I went to a hill in Maharashtra called Pratapgarh. You might have heard about Pratapgarh. And I, as a high school student, I had read that in Pratapgarh, Shivaji was hiding, and this Afzal Khan, who was the military general of Bijapur, came there with a big army and surrounded Pratapgarh, and then he was trying to catch Shivaji. Then Shivaji made a plan. I should go now and then fight that fellow. And then he sent words. Pratapgarh sent, Afzal Khan sent words to Shivaji. You come personally and then discuss with me, and we will negotiate the terms of peace. And Shivaji understood it. Shivaji said, yes, I am coming. But this Afzal Khan was a very tall and hefty person. Shivaji was a very medium-sized person. He was only 5'6" and lean. You know, in physical strength, it depends upon the mass of your muscles. Mass of your muscles. Naturally, Afzal Khan was a very strong person physically. Shivaji understood it. And Shivaji had prepared what is called the Vyagranakha. That means the tiger's claw. And then he came, some soldiers of Shivaji, some bodyguards of Shivaji were just outside. And then Shivaji came into the dera, and Afzal Khan came, and then under the pretext of showing love and affection for Shivaji, he went and hugged him. His plan was to hug him around his neck and then press it and then choke him. Shivaji knew it. When he hugged him, Shivaji put the Vyagranakha into the hip of Afzal Khan and then drew it. And Afzal Khan just cried, oh, it was mortal. Then when he cried, oh, Shivaji's bodyguards rushed inside and then killed him. And when the soldiers of Afzal Khan came to know that their general himself was killed, they became panicked and started running. And Shivaji's soldiers followed them and then killed them, and Shivaji won his fort. This was what I had read in my high school history textbooks. When I went to see that hill, the hill fort of Pratapgarh in mid-1970, there was I hired a guide, I paid him 10 rupees, and then he took me and then he showed me, you see, that is the mount of Mahabaleshwar, and this is that mountain, this mountain, etc., etc. And he took me around, took me up, and then said, this is the Mandir of Devi, and all that, and then said, sir, my work is over. I asked him, where is the place where Shivaji fought Afzal Khan? And he said, which place, sir? Which Afzal Khan you are saying? He pretended complete innocence. I said, this is what I have read in my history books. You just tell me. Then he said, I don't know, sir. Then I put another 10 rupee note into his hand and then said, you please show me. Then he said, but you should not tell it to anybody, sir. I said, I promise you I don't. Then he took me to the midpoint. There we passed through midpoint and then said, sir, this is the place. What is that? It was a dargah. It was a dargah painted green completely. I asked him, how is it that it became a dargah? Where is the board that it is the place where Shivaji fought? Then he said, sir, earlier there was a board and there was a structure also, but just in the previous, just 2 years ago, during the election time, the Muslims asked the ruling party to hand it over to them, but thereby they would vote en masse to the ruling party. Therefore, the ruling party handed it over to the Muslims, and then this dargah was immediately built, and now all the guides are instructed by the government not to mention it to anybody. Now, I started thinking very seriously, where is the truth of historicity in our country? What is the truth of history? Now, next generation people will never come to know about Afzal Khan and Shivaji's fight, because it is removed from history books, it is removed from the place itself. Then what is it that is making us, where are we going, and what are the forces that are destroying the historical truth? This point started ruminating in my mind very strongly, by which time I had read some of the books concerning history. Though I knew about how historical facts are distorted, I did not know it thoroughly. Then a friend of mine suggested to me to read the books written by Sitaram Goyal and then Ram Swarup. Then I found out that these two authors' books are published by Voice of India publication, Daryaganj, New Delhi. I happened to go to New Delhi for some other work, and then I went to Voice of India books, and then I asked them to show me all their publications, and I collected all their publications and then paid some 6,000 or 7,000 rupees, and they said we will send it by parcel to your home. And then I came back to Mysore and I received the parcel in about 10 days. I read each one of those books. Also I read other books, and it gave me content to write this novel. And then I wrote this novel. In the introduction to the novel, I wrote, the content of this novel is not my creation. It belongs to history, and the research pertaining to it belongs to the authors whose list I have given at the end. But the art of this novel is my creation. It's the fact. Now, after this novel was published, there was some apprehension among the people who have read the manuscript, including Ganesh. What will happen if this book is published? Then I didn't care about it. And what will happen to my publisher about it? I cared a little, because after all the publisher puts his money into it. But the publisher also took courage and said, since we have published all your other novels, we should not hesitate to publish this novel, we will publish it. So we published it, and then somehow the news was spread that it is a bombshell novel written by Bhyrappa. Somehow the news spread. The result was the first edition of 3,000 copies was sold out before it came to the market. And this fact itself became the news, and some newspapers published Bhairappa's latest novel Avarana is sold out before it came to the market, and that itself created publicity. And then another reprint was, see, in modern times, the printing technology is so much developed that you can reprint a book in 2 days. So another reprint came, and it was also sold out before it came to the bookshops. And then the bookshops, the retailers came to the publisher and then said, there is so much of publicity for this book and you are not supplying to us, you must supply it. They started quarreling with the publisher, and the publishers started supplying to the books, and therefore, it reached the record. Now it has gone into 36 editions are over, and 37th edition is in the what is it that gave publicity to this book? There are two kinds of publicity. One is those who read the book told it to their friends and relatives, and this was the silent publicity and word of mouth. And the other kind of publicity was the leftists started attacking this book. They wrote articles in the newspapers. They held the seminars and they condemned it, and then they distributed the pamphlet condemning this novel, etc. And this gave another kind of publicity. In fact, they helped this novel. Now, there was some cry, why don't you ban this novel? Now, banning that novel, I had already consulted 3 eminent lawyers of Bangalore. Before publishing, I consulted 3 eminent lawyers of Bangalore, and then who read the manuscript of this novel, and then said, you go ahead, they can't ban it. So it also, and in the foreword I had written my thanks to these eminent jurists who had read the novel, that it was a warning to the government. It was a warning to the government. It also helped the circulation of the novel. Now, another factor was not only in Kannada, in Marathi, 10 editions have taken place. 10 editions in Marathi, which was published 2 years after Kannada's publication, because the translator takes time to translate it. And then in Tamil, 3 editions. Yes. And then in Sanskrit, 3 editions. In Hindi, 3 or 4 editions, I don't remember. Last month, in Gujarati, they had printed 10,000 copies. They invited me to launch this in 5 places: Ahmedabad, Nagar, Baroda, Bharuch, and then Surat. In 1 week, all 10,000 copies were sold. And recently I had been to Bhopal for some university work, and then there was a seminar on this. Seminar on this novel. In Maharashtra, many seminars were held, not only in Pune, but in various other smaller places like Pandharpur, Nashik, and Nagpur, etc. Now, why is it that this novel has become so popular so quickly? The reason is, among every Indian, there was a truth, there was an emotion throbbing in the heart of every Indian. And it was not expressed by any writer in the fullest truthful sense. Now, when a person reads this, he says, yes, this is what was throbbing in my mind, and I could not write it. And many writers felt, I wish I were the writer of this novel. And this way it became popular. You see, any literary work will become popular. The basic thing is, the reader should feel it is my experience. It is something which I want. It is not merely about Avarana I am saying. It is on any work, any poetry. It may be work of Kalidasa, it may be work of Bhavabhuti, it may be work of Shakespeare or anything. Until and unless it expresses the throbbing of your heart, you do not wholeheartedly accept it, and you do not propagate it to your friends and relatives. And this is precisely what has happened in the case of novel. Now this English translation, I read this English translation from cover to cover. Sandeep has really done a wonderful job. Because he has written it in the language which is really modern, in the sense that the kind of English that I had studied, for example, I have taught philosophy in English language for over 32 years, but my English is the old Victorian English, and it doesn't touch the youngsters. And Sandeep's English touches all of you, the youngsters and the modern elderly people also. Therefore, I recommend all of you to read this novel. Thank you.
honest exposition, Dr. Bhyrappa. With your permission, can I just open the house for a Q&A for 10 minutes? We'll take maybe a few questions. Right? Thank you so much. So audience, it's a small auditorium. I will request you to raise your hands and then ask your question. Please keep your question short and not very long so that we can take as many questions as we can.
My question to Dr. S L Bhyrappa. I would like to know when the book Avarana actually came out and that famous Jnanpith award winner actually wrote Avarana the Anavarana.
He never wrote. It is collection of book articles.
So
No one person.
I would like to know how the whole incident and what was the experience among the academicians. Because they would.
Relate to your question. So significant was that the reaction. Avarana, the Anavarana, and all it came. Collection of essays. That's what they screamed. They said it is onslaught against minority and all that. But one should know a real fact. Avarana is not against either Islam or Christianity or any religion. It is against falsehood. Concealment of reality and glorification of falsehood. It's connected with that. If Bhyrappa were to have seen such distortions in Sanatana Dharma, he would have written. He has already written so many such novels. And people wrongly saw that and distorted it. And it was their purpose also. It's an assault against minority, something like that. It was never that. And so they couldn't provide any evidences. It became a street scream, that's all. Nobody can consider it, and it was naturally ignored, and it has its natural death also.
Yeah, can we have
Mike.
Very nice background on our question is related to the previous question. In fact, it is we are a wounded civilization, and that is hidden. And what I can think about it, whether we expose to history, there is a possibility of healing. Otherwise, it's going to error in uncontrollable days. I would like to know your reaction to that, and maybe even recommend future writers touch upon.
Yes, we are wounded, I accept it. We are wounded. But what was our defect? We should understand that also. See, such a vast people, why were they defeated by groups of invaders? Why? What was our defect? We must go to our religion, we must go to our style of living and so on and so forth. I accept it. And out of it, what lesson should we learn? That also we should know. What lesson should we learn for the present? For example, that woundedness was not merely by the invaders of those days, but even by the Chinese. And our so-called great Prime Minister, we did not take any responsibility for it because we were beaten by the Chinese. Now, what should we do now for that? This is election time, remember?
the gentleman here in blue.
So, been a very great admirer of the book. So I've been reading it for a long time. The only book I have not read is Avarana. Very nice book. But coming to history portion of it, Shri Atul Kothari has also written a couple of books where the British brought the historians and made them rewrite Indian history itself. So there are many episodes of rewriting Indian history. If you are put this thing and Mr. Kothari sitting there, I think we make a group of people who can bring the original history to the people.
Alright, so the gentleman here is
Please, my question to you. I read
Speak loudly.
my question to you. I read the English translation of your book. It's very well written and translated well as you say.
My only question is, have you by any chance thought of writing an epilogue to the book, say 20 years down the line when Lakshmi's daughter marries Professor Shastri's son, something of that thought, of that sort. For example, when you mentioned about Pratap and being totally moved away from the next generation. Any generational change or anything like that in terms of the conversion, in terms of thinking of people or anything?
No, it is not merely, don't read generational change in that. In that story, the fact of Shastri's daughter not getting a suitable groom, it was a fact under that situation. And Lakshmi's son was a very highly earning person. It was a question of convenience for them, for both. And that fellow, Lakshmi's son, was not getting a suitable bride. So he was desperate. Yes, yeah, in that country. And see, how he was desperate, I have described in the novel. And how she was desperate. Shastri's daughter was desperate, was also. Shastri himself thinks of in terms of Freud's theory of sex. She was sexually hungry, therefore she has agreed to marry. Father of the girl himself analyzes it this way. They accept it. That's all.
I'll take 2 more questions and then you can ask your question after.
One point I want to add.
The gentleman here and the one with the back.
Gentleman's question, any epilogue right? I don't think he has any sequel or epilogue to write. Everything is self-contained and complete in that, and all that is well suggested. There, the wonderful suggestion is, even a Muslim will realize, but not the pseudo-secularists. Shastri can never realize, but away to realize. So everything is well lit and told in the novel itself. And it's complete. It's a wonderful, complete work of art.
If you do not read history, you cannot, if you read history, you can learn from your past. If you don't read history, you don't learn, therefore you cannot manage your present properly. You cannot plan for your future also.
No, right on that, please. You are supposed to learn from history. You have read, as I said, of the Avarana story, you have to tell in the textbook now. When I was in history, we had all the stories. But now we don't have all those in the past. But now, having learned it now, even today, the situation is not much worse than what it was for 20 years back. The amount of propaganda we are getting in the whole country, I think they were not told, I wish the father and Muslim. I think they were from the country. People like the think in those directions. What directions has history made? Or your efforts or people like your efforts are going to make, is it going to certain, is going to be the right direction?
No, it is because of the ignorance and irresponsibility of our leaders.
So when you want to blame the leaders, we as people, the citizens of the country,
Let's
should be able to make
not
think what
let's not have follow-up questions, otherwise we'll never actually. Sir, let him answer, then we have to be controlled. So please,
sorry for the input, sir.
please sit down.
No.
Please sit down.
See that is why this organization of presenting the true history of our country, it is an effort in educating our people in true history so that we learn the proper lessons from our history. That is all.
The last question there. Sir, you'll get your opportunity, please.
Aside from Avarana, it has been your most fulfilling work today. After writing, what have you felt the best?
I can't answer this question. Because I believe that I will write still more.
ಭಾರತೀಯರನ್ನಾಗಿ ಸಮಿತಿ ಏನಾದರೂ ಸಹಾಯ ಮಾಡುತ್ತಾ?
ಆವರಣದಲ್ಲೇ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಕೆಲವು ಸಜೆಷನ್ಸ್, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇವೆ, ಕೆಲವು ಕಡೆ ಹಿಂಟ್ಸ್ ಇವೆ.
ಸರ್ ಒನ್ ಲಾಸ್ಟ್, ನೀವು ಪ್ರತಾಪ್ಗಢ ಬಗ್ಗೆ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರಿ, how they conceived the whole thing. We can understand that maybe they think it's an attack on the religion, so they have motivation to conceive. What motivation our pseudo-seculars have over Hindus?
Money. Money.
No, I'm not talking about politicians, general attack.
See, there is a difference between secularist politicians and pseudo-secularists. Please make this distinction. Secularist politicians are for votes. See, the unfortunate thing in our country is everyone wants to make money. It is in all of us. But during the socialistic pattern of society period in India, somehow those who earn money are hated, like they are poppies. They were hated, and it was a so individual effort. How does money come? How is money generated? It is by work. It is by starting industry. It is by producing. Money is generated. Money doesn't come automatically from the sky. Now, our people have not learned to start a new industry, to start a new business, and so on. It is all curbed. And our business people, our rich people were all hated. And they were dubbed as black marketers. Do you know how black market started in our country? During Indira Gandhi's time. It started from Nehru's time, but during Indira Gandhi's time, tax at the highest slab was 97.5%. You are a young person, you don't remember, you don't know what it is. 97.5% of tax at the highest slab plus surcharge. And what does the businessman? Businessman means what does the industrialist save out of it? He could not save anything. Therefore, he started two accounting, black account and then the white account. Now, the government, the ruling person, Indira Gandhi, came to know about it. She knew about it. And then she kept account of all those persons who would keep two accounts. Everyone had to keep, otherwise, they could not start any industry. And then she started threatening the industrialists. You have this much black money, you give this percentage to me because I have to run the party. Otherwise, you will be put behind the bars. Income tax department has this power. Though the ruling government itself became the part of this black money. It became a habit. Tax evasion became a habit. Now, even though now the tax level is reduced, it is reasonable now. That old habit has not died. Now, the thing is, people have developed the habit. I must earn money without starting an industry, without starting a business. Now, to start an industry is not an easy thing. It requires as much intelligence as for a person to do his PhD, more intelligence. Now, he has to raise the funds, he has to make research about which product will sell well, because there is international competition. If I make a product, the same product will come from China, from Japan, from America, and so on and so forth. I must compete with them also. And then the technology I must develop, money I must get, marketing I must do, etc., etc. is a hell of a lot. Then instead of it, the easiest way to make money is for you to go behind the local MLA and then say, Anna, give me a chance as a corporator. And then if you become a corporator, automatically money comes for every repair that takes place, whether the repair takes place or not, you get the money. And within 5 years, you will make some crores of rupees. And after doing this corporator's job for about 2 terms, then you will ask the other politician, so this way, those who cannot do any other creative, productive, industrial activity will become politicians. Now, in order to click, because we must honestly remember, earning money is not a sin. It is the duty, it is the right of every person. Because if you earn money, you must run an industry. You must run an industry. And when you run an industry, you are giving jobs to so many people. And not only that, you are giving tax to so many people. And you are generating economic activity in the country, etc. It is a patriotic job. Now you will be earning foreign exchange also. Therefore, that old hatred for industrial activity generated by the leftist and the so-called the Congress socialistic pattern of society, it was completely wrong. As early as early 1950s, Rajaji started a party against Nehru's communism. Rajaji started a party called Swatantra Party, and he said everybody has a right to start industry and then business, but he should be a dharmadarshi. That means you must teach every industrialist about his dharma. His money is not to indulge in vulgar luxury, but he is only a trustee, he is a dharmadarshi. And for that, who should be the model for him? The politician should be the model for him. Like Lal Bahadur Shastri. If the politician is a model, then the industrialists will have a moral fear in them. And it is easy to control them. But without moral fear, if you try to control them with the sheer political or police power, and they can bribe the police also, they can bribe you and everything, etc. There is a saying in Kannada, so it is what is happening today. There is no moral power in our leaders. This is our tragedy.
Okay, so we're really short of time. After this program, Dr. Bhyrappa will be available to sign your books. You can ask your question at that time. Thank you so much, sir.